Hey, what's going on guys, it's Krish here. I've got a little bit of time, so I thought I'd do a quick update video on where I'm at with the hydro handbrake install for my simulator frame. Basically, I mentioned in the last video that I'll be getting a hydro handbrake and going through a bit of the install with you guys. So I finally got the actual hydro handbrake, and I've also gone and bought the G29 shifter. If you remember from the last video, I was actually using the G27 shifter. The reason that I got the G29 shifter is because it's actually got a smaller footprint when you mount it, and I'm hoping that little bit of extra space will allow for the hydro handbrake to mount right up next to the shifter. So you can see here I've already replaced the shifter into the simulator frame. And you can see the size difference there. The other thing I wanted to point out was it's almost like the quality of the G29 shifter is not the same as the G27 was. Just the feel of how it shifts gears, and also some of the materials used. So when you look at the screws and stuff they use, G29 one is a little bit cheaper looking compared to the G27 one. Also the shifter boot is a lot softer in the G27, and the G29 one is quite hard, and you can actually feel it when you're shifting, that it's sort of restricting the movement. So this is the hydro handbrake here. It's quite a solid unit, and it's actually quite customizable. Like, you can change the way it mounts and the angle it mounts at, so it's got quite a lot of features. It's also got the actual cylinder on the back. Now I'm contemplating not utilizing fluid in the cylinder with a separate reservoir. What I've seen other people do, basically on that middle shaft that goes into the cylinder, they use a spring, and that sort of gives it a bit more tension. But just using it as it is, it actually does have quite a bit of tension already on it, and I may even be fine without using a spring. Now the one thing I still have to purchase for this is the switch, so that it can hook into those wires that I tapped into the G29 in the previous video. So basically I'll be mounting the switch probably from one of these mounting positions here, and it will face this bolt. That bolt, when you operate the handbrake, it moves back and forth, and that should go and hit the switch, which will then go back to the G29. So if we look at the mounting points for the handbrake, it's got 4 main points there, and I'm going to try and utilize basically an aluminium plate that will mount from that screw that you can see there, and sort of go forward and sort of come out a little bit. So what I want to do now is show you guys how the existing handbrake is set up. Basically I want to show the switching mechanism, and it might actually give you guys some ideas to set up your own handbrake if you don't want to use a hydro. I'm just going to undo this screw here, and I mentioned that I had 3D printed a little cover. Basically that's what it is there. Very simple design. All it was there was to hide the switch. Now the actual handbrake is held on with just a bolt on the other side. So basically this was the existing handle. It was from a tool, I'm not sure what it was, but it was just from our sort of trade warehouse, Bunnings, and I put I think it's an M6 bolt through it, which then went into, not sure if you can see it, but there's a hole just there, and the bolt went on the other side. Basically it was a small momentary switch, and when you lift the handbrake, the back end of the handle would come and hit this section and activate the switch. So it was quite a simple setup. Now that I've got that one removed, we can see how this one will mount. So as I mentioned before, there's going to be a small plate here that I'll screw in using this screw, and I'll tap another one into here, and on that plate the new handbrake will mount, sort of just like that. And that should be the mounting of the Hydro handbrake. Now if I was to go a bit further with this install and do the fluid for the Hydro handbrake, I'd mount a reservoir somewhere around here, and I would have to hook that up to a slave cylinder, something like just a slave cylinder for a clutch, and that would probably just sit underneath this frame rail just here out of the way. Basically the way the handbrake will operate, when you pull back on the handle, it will send some pressure back through the lines and into the slave cylinder, and that's all it does. So if I can mimic that just using a spring to get a little bit more tension out of the handbrake handle, I'll be fine to do that. But yeah, let me know down in the comments if you did want to see something like that. I'm not sure at the moment if I will take my install to that level, but we'll see how we go. So it's going to mount something like this. I've just taken that one screw out that I mentioned before and screwed it into the frame. But yeah, you can see it's got a bit of overhang, so I'll need that plate to support it. And yeah, it's not in the way of the shifting. And the mechanism, again, as I mentioned before, it could do with a spring, but it's actually not too bad as it is. I might change the angle on this a little bit and see if I can stop it making that noise. So this is how it is in the driver's point of view. So you've got your wheel here, shifter just here, and the Hydro. So this will be really good in Assetto Corsa, and I'm hoping to use it for Gran Turismo Sport on PS4 when it's out later this year. I missed out on the Gran Turismo Sport beta. I did put my name down, but yeah, missed out. There should be another one in August. Apparently there'll be more invites being sent out around August, so fingers crossed, I might make some videos on that as well. So guys, that's where I'm at the moment with the Hydro handbrake install. I know a few of you were asking about it down in the comments of the last video, so keep an eye out. The next video will be out soon. That's where I'll actually do the install. I've got a few things to buy, so mainly that switch for the handbrake and also the mounting plate to mount the handbrake onto the simulated frame. So yeah, if you have any other questions, leave it down in the comments and I'll get back to you shortly. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks again for watching, guys.